Going to go through some of the WhatsApps which we've gotten from the President himself on our phone. You can see he's typing. Let's take a look at some of them. Some of them you're probably familiar with, but I just want to remind you and explore them in a little bit more detail. Of course, one of the important ones is food delivery. Restaurants are now open between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m., but of course that is only for delivery. And what we've seen over the last 24 hours or so is that not all restaurants are actually taking up the option. Obviously, it does cost money, and they're probably still trying to figure out how to change their operations. But certainly some of them are now offering food delivery. And if you do decide to pig out a little bit on the takeaway, then it might be time for a little bit of a workout. Let's focus on those details. Of course, you can now exercise, but very strict regulations in place in terms of that. You have to do it between 6 and 9 a.m. in the morning. I was actually on the roads yesterday, and I can tell you there were a lot of people. Most of them here in Johannesburg were respecting the rules. And speaking of the rules, you cannot venture beyond a 5-kilometer radius of your house. So you have to keep it local, as it were. Most people seem to be doing that in Joburg as well yesterday, but we'll have to see what happens over the next few days. And this is important as well. A lot of people will be upset about this, I suppose. No public gym. Of course, gyms can be rather tricky when it comes to social distancing. So that's an important issue as well. But let's focus very quickly on transport, because there have been a lot of questions about this, guys. Of course, a curfew of sorts. This has been imposed from 8 o'clock in the evening to 5 a.m. in the morning. And we heard from the Transport Minister yesterday talking about a concession which has been made from the 1st of May to the 7th of May. This is interesting because it allows people who were basically caught up in the lockdown situation. Perhaps they were visiting a family or friends over the Easter period, and they found themselves in another province and they couldn't get back in time for the lockdown. So they're now able to return on a once-off trip, or perhaps maybe their sector is now opening up under level 4 and they have to get back to work. So they're now able to use public transport between the 1st of May and the 7th of May to get themselves back to their home provinces. There's a lot of granular detail in these, so just important to note what's now in place.
Listen, Michael, that 5-kilometer rule works for me. That's perfect. 10 meters would have worked for me either way. Listen, let's talk about the cigarette sales. That must have a lot of conversation going on WhatsApp at the moment.
Absolutely. Gee, it seems like the majority of it is either about the cigarettes or the exercise at the moment, Tony. Let's focus very quickly on the tobacco sales. Of course, government was accused of going back and forth when it comes to smoking rules, but again, no tobacco sales under level 4. And let's quickly move on to alcohol. I'll take you through that. No alcohol sales as well. I think it might be some time before we get to a level where we are actually allowed to buy alcohol on a regular basis. But government has said that it is trying to offer a helping hand. So, for example, you can now buy new products. Let's focus on that quickly. It is getting cold, and of course, government says it wants to get the country prepared. So you can now head to the retail stores and buy clothing, bedding, and of course heating products as well. If you have a little one, perhaps you've just had a newborn, then of course you can buy baby care products as well. And let's not forget that the kids are eventually going to go back to school, and they need pencils and stationery and all that sort of thing. And of course they need books, so that's part of the equation. Now you can now go out, buy stationery and educational material for the kids. Of course, that's important as schools are likely perhaps to go back in June this year. Of course, we think universities might do that as well. Finally, Marcel and Tony, let's focus on this. The public health arrangements. Cloth masks are now mandatory in public. We actually saw quite a few people exercising with the cloth masks yesterday. And we spoke about WhatsApp at the beginning of the segment. Government using WhatsApp to get in touch with South Africans and make sure they're following the rules. Let's bring that number up very quickly for you, and it is 0600 123 456. You can simply text hi to that WhatsApp number, and you'll get all sorts of information and updates on government's program. So it's all about staying in the same WhatsApp group. And oh, we just got a message from the President. There it is. Cyril Ramaphosa typing, keep safe, he says. Thanks, Mr. Pres. We'll keep that in mind.
Thank you so much, Michael. People are saying, because when you're emailing each other, lots of meetings taking place on Zoom, lots of emails flying around, the new line in emails that people use now, instead of just saying, hope this email finds you well, you now get lines around, please stay safe, are you coping? Yeah. So there are all these new lines now in email language now that we're using, that's all come as a result of this lockdown and this new normal.
It's the lockdown lexicon, I suppose.
Indeed. I can't wait for you to tell us more about that as well.